The president dared put the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s name in his mouth the day after he called every African nation a, quote, shithole and suggested the U.S. get rid of Haitian and other black and brown immigrants in favor of those from Norway. Joining me now, Jelani Cobb, staff writer for The New Yorker, Reverend Dr. James Forbes, national minister for the Drum Major Institute, and Mark Thompson, host of the Sirius XM show, Make It Plain with Mark Thompson, with the apologies for cursing in front of a pastor on Sunday. Let me go to you first, Mark, and just get, what was your reaction? Just give me your visceral reaction when you heard Donald Trump standing in the Oval Office next to Dr. King's nephew and reciting Dr. King's words.
Well, good morning, first of all, Joy, and happy MLK weekend. It's clear he did not write those words. He was just reading them. There's no way he could believe the words he wrote after he said what he said just the day before about all of our people and all of our ancestors and immigrants coming from S-hole countries. Donald Trump is the most overtly racist president since Ronald Reagan. Not that other presidents since then weren't racist, they just were a little more subtle about it. They followed the Lee Atwater model, so to speak, of subtlety. But Donald Trump has done none of that, and I mean, obviously he did adopt Ronald Reagan's slogan, Make America Great Again. Donald Trump has let us know more than any other time who he is, and there should be no doubt. But particularly when it comes to Haiti, you know, a report has come out, Donald Trump's own ilk, the 1% that he just gave this tax cut, the people that he buddies with, are the reason for some of the exploitation of many of these countries, including Haiti. Baby Doc laundered money that he stole from the Haitian people by purchasing an apartment in Trump Tower in the 80s, which a lot of people, a lot of despots did. You could launder money by purchasing a condo in the Trump Tower. Baby Doc paid almost $440,000 in cash to Donald Trump. Donald Trump's signature is on the bill of sale. That was costly to the Haitian people. That's one of the reasons Haiti's still in the condition it is today. So for him to say that when he is partially and directly responsible for that exploitation in Haiti is abominable and blasphemous to the memory of Dr. King.
And I want to play for you, Reverend Dr. Forbes, what happened after Donald Trump gave his remarks, and then let you respond.
Mr. President, are you a racist? Mr. President, will you respond to these serious questions about your statement, sir?
No, Mr. President, absolutely.
You're talking to the President, not you, sir. Mr. President, are you a racist?
Now, the no you heard was Pastor Darrell Scott, who is one of Trump's surrogates from Cleveland, answering on his behalf, but he didn't answer. I mean, we haven't seen that before, a president giving his King Day remarks and then being asked by April Ryan, an African-American reporter, are you a racist?
Joy, let's get to the point. Number one, it is his words that God made everybody equal. He said that's what Dr. King said. But after God made everybody equal, our society started deciding that God's decision to make all equal was not right. And therefore, our culture actually started making some of us less than human beings. That is, we say, God, you are a lie. These people from these countries are not human beings. So the S word, and you said it, please, on national television, let me say that word. All y'all that know me, I'm a religious leader. But that was not the first time I heard S word. I heard S when the United States took over, or at least America took over the lands of Native Americans, our first citizens. And then they used the S word, savages. Next time I heard the S word, they took African Americans off of African soil, another S-hole country, and they made us slaves. So when I heard the S word the other night, my soul, folks, I don't cuss, but my soul had a broken heart attack. And my soul, I don't curse, but my tears said, shit! Because, now let me calm down, because I did. It's not so much about what Trump said, it is about our whole culture has actually, with another S, that's related to WS. White supremacy ideology is at the heart of the whole American experience. Now, not all of us are deep in it, but all of us have been infected by it. Black folks have been influenced by white supremacy ideology. White folks and black folks have been, and now Martin Luther King's birthday, God offers all of us a chance to enjoy the year of Jubilee, basically, because it's the 50th year since America conspired to kill the prophet who came to say, God said we were all together. Now, Joy, the issue, does America have the courage to face the truth? And it takes courage, because if we face the truth, what Dr. King says, the whole culture has to undergo a radical transformation of values.
Yeah.
We can spend our time, y'all heard me say that curse word. I'm not sure I'm gonna get flack all over the world for saying it. But the question is, do we want to hear what God says to us? Look, folks, your whole society is messed up. It was messed up from the beginning. Congenital transgression was a part of your history. Do you want to repent for it and then restructure your whole society so that it will appear that what I said in the beginning about we are all persons of worth, and God even, God, I cussed, but God might say, guess folks, I don't make no S.
Yeah.
All my children ought to be respected. Now that's very important. Please, now you got to forgive the preacher.
No, I think actually we might have had a little church this morning. You know, and Jelani, I've been struggling with, you know, what should Trump do on MLK Day, right? Because he presumably will do something. The Obamas typically did a day of service. They did that every year. They'll probably do it this year. What should he even do? Do people even want to hear from him on tomorrow?
I think anything that he did would suffer from the taint of hypocrisy. That we've known since Charlottesville. If we didn't know when he made the comments he made about the Central Park Five, and we didn't know when he was conducting discriminatory practices in his apartment buildings in the 1970s, if we didn't know any of the kind of litany, if we didn't know what he said about Judge Curiel, there's nothing that happened recently that was informative. There was no epiphany that should have come out of what we just saw. And if he had any kind of sense of self-regard or respect for Dr. King's legacy, he would not say a word. Out of respect for not being, in an attempt to not be a hypocrite about it. But I don't think that's what we'll see.
Yeah.
I think that he's been allowed to operate in such a way that his contradictions have been explained away. There are people within the Republican Party, they're surrogates like the passage you mentioned, but who was in the room with him, who knew what he'd said, and then nonetheless said that Mr. Trump was not racist. I think we have a different definition of what constitutes racism. And so, yeah, this is who this person is, fundamentally. And one last thing I want to say about this, too, and I've been saying this, all along, is that the United States history is intricately interwoven with the history of Haiti. That we know that Haiti was the second republic to declare itself independent from colonialism after the United States. And we know that because of the fearless example of those enslaved black people in Haiti who rose up and overthrew the French and declared themselves independent, that had the chain effect of causing the United States to abolish the transatlantic slave trade. And they did this out of fear, that this could be an example, especially in places like South Carolina.
That's right.
This could be an example of large-scale, successful mass slave revolts. But nonetheless, our freedom, particularly of those of us as African Americans in this country, is directly connected to that. Moreover, when Thomas Jefferson negotiated that fire sale price for the Louisiana Purchase, Napoleon's logic was animated by the devastating loss of revenue that he had received at the hands of the French, at the hands of the Haitians.
That's right.
And so the doubling of the size of this country and those 13 states that in whole or part are carved out of that Louisiana territory are again connected to Haiti. In 1917, the United States invaded Haiti and occupied Haiti for 17 years, and under the name of the Monroe Doctrine. And so in the U.S., going back to the point about the Duvalier regime, the United States kept the Duvaliers in power as a Cold War prerogative, allowing them to wreak all sorts of havoc and human rights disasters on the population there. if there's anything that he could say to Haiti, would be, you have our humblest apologies. And please forgive us for our intrusions in your country's independence.
Yeah. Can you guys stay for one more block? Do you guys mind? All right. We're going to keep this going. I'm going to ask all three of these guests to stay more AM2 after the. Back with me, Jelani Cobb, Reverend Dr. James Forbes, and Mark Thompson. And Mark, I'm going to go to you first. We're going to go back around one more time. On the same question to you, Martin Luther King Jr.'s nephew, Isaac Newton Ferris Jr., and who's the executive director of the King Center, actually attended Donald Trump's event. Most of the King family were not there. I think Alveda King was there as well. And he came out and he told CNN's Jim Acosta that he didn't think Trump was racist. He just thinks that he's ignorant or racially uninformed. I wonder what you make of that and what you think we do from here.
Well, I think, first of all, that's absurd. And racism is ignorance as well. I mean, it's ignorant to be racist. Racism is an example of ignorance. So I'm a little ashamed that he would say that. You know, you asked what Trump should do tomorrow. If he really wants to honor Dr. King, he should resign, quite frankly. But in the meantime, I think we have to deal with what he said the other day and deal with his ongoing dehumanization, as all races employ, the dehumanization of our people. Remind ourselves, remind our young people. I'm, thankful for the way everyone rallied around the young man in the H&M ad. We have nothing to be ashamed of. And one of Dr. King's final speeches to the SCLC, he even embraced the phrase, "Black is beautiful." And we need to resurrect that and remind ourselves that's exactly the case. We're not from shithole countries. We have everything to be proud of in terms of where we come from. If anything, in the parlance of the millennials, we are the shit. And Dr. King gave his life. This is ironic. He gave his life for people who clean up the SHIT, the sanitation workers in Memphis. And so we need to keep preaching Dr. King's message. I'm on my way to preach at King Solomon Baptist here in Detroit, and I can't wait to report that my father in ministry, Dr. Forbes, was cursing on TV. But love you, Dr. Forbes. But we need to continue to preach Dr. King's message. And Trump may as well embrace Dr. King, because pretty soon he'll be just like Dr. King, hopefully, and writing letters from jail.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to give a shout out to my pastor, my former pastor, Miami Bishop Victor Tyrone Curry. Luckily, he's in church right now, so he didn't hear me curse or you. Okay. So, it is interesting. And I'll read a statement from the NAACP, by the way, on Donald Trump's comments. It says, as our nation fights to move forward, our president falls deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole of racism and xenophobia. The United States' position as a moral leader throughout the world has been thoroughly damaged by the continuous lowbrow, callous, and uninformed racism repeatedly espoused by Dr. Trump. Edwidge Danticat, who is a fabulous, incredible Haitian author, wrote a few weeks ago, it was all Haitians have AIDS. This week it was we are from an S-hole country. Haiti is not unacquainted with racists or white supremacists. We defeated our share of them in 1804 when we became the world's first black republic. Haiti is not an S-hole country. Dr. King at the end, Jelani, he was really talking about economics. That's right. He was talking about a living wage. He was talking about universal health care. He was saying we need to have a radical unselfishness. He wasn't just talking about race. What can we do to move this conversation forward on a policy level?
So I think it's a lot here. I just want to say really quickly, I said 1917, it was 1915 the United States invaded Haiti. But on the point of policy, I think that it's important to recognize that there are people who see these connections. So I've been in contact with and kind of shadowing Reverend William Barber and the moral revival and poor people's campaign that they are trying to reignite. And one of the things that you look at very clearly, when you look at Dr. King, we have found a comforting version of him, the kind of low-octane version, decaffeinated version of Martin Luther King. But when we start looking at this, King talked about the ways in which the Homestead Act, going all the way back into the 19th century, had provided a basis for white economic development that placed them at advantage over black people. It talked about the way this happened with public policy in the 1930s and 1940s in the New Deal, and the way that African Americans were excluded from that. And so King's reading of American history was very clear on the ways in which populism had been specifically kind of racially narrowed in order to make sure that black people were excluded from that. So when he was saying that he wanted to create a poor people's movement, he was trying to turn that history on its head.
Yeah.
And so I think there are people, when you look at people like what's happening with the Poor People's Campaign, who recognize that there are advantages that we actually need to recognize the ways in which we all have common concerns.
Absolutely. And shout out to Marion Wright Edelman, who took Bobby Kennedy to Mississippi, to the Mississippi Delta.
That's right.
That was the basis for launching the Poor People's Campaign. I'm going to come to you last, Reverend Dr. Forbes, very quickly before we go. You're going to be with with Bishop Barber today, later on this afternoon, and you guys are going to be doing an action that's going to be a combination of a preaching and marching. Tell us a little bit about that.
We're going to be at 5th Avenue Presbyterian Church at 4 o'clock today. Reverend Barber is going to be the speaker, and we're going to have a wonderful service. Many, many religious interfaith leaders are going to be there. And after the service, we've got the New Orleans second line tradition that's going to give us a chance to march around the church singing over, and the saints go marching in. But then we're going to march outside. We're going to march right across the street to Trump Tower, and we're going to offer prayer. We're not making political speeches, making prayer. I'll say a little prayer. Reverend Barber will say a prayer. Why? Brother Trump needs prayer. The country needs prayer.
Yeah.
And we all need prayer.
Amen.
So we're going to have a wonderful time in the service. So this afternoon, be there, 5th Avenue, Presbyterian
I work on
Church.
Sunday, so I have to bring my services to me. I have to bring the church here, and we certainly did that today with the Reverend Dr. James Forbes, the anointed Reverend Dr. Mark Thompson, and the evangelist Jelani Cobb. I appreciate all of you all being here. Thank you guys. Still to come on AM Joy. We in the media spent the last week swearing, just like we just have on this show. But I will tell you the word that some people refused to talk about, and that is next.